Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing 100 years of favorite films, specifically one film from each year in the 1920s that was a favorite of mine or my very favorite. The first of these is the 1920 movie The Golem, He Came into the World. I saw this on the Criterion channel a few years back. Here's the basic idea. In 16th century Prague, a rabbi creates the golem. It's a big stalker-like creature, a monstrous creature using clay, and the purpose of this was to bring this thing to life to help protect Jewish people from persecution in Prague, and things go awry. This is, a little bit of early Godzilla, shades of that, shades of early Frankenstein's monster. It's a tremendous film with visual effects that still stun me to this day, and I really don't feel like I'm watching something quite that early. It feels like it could have been made by Sjostrom years later. A beautiful film, a great cautionary tale that I think influenced monster movies after it. Do see 1920's The Golem, How He Came into the World. For 1921, we have The Kid, a Charlie Chaplin classic that I refer to all the time when I'm talking about Criterions I enjoy. This isn't much different than a lot of Chaplins. A tramp ends up in the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time, however you want to look at it. And he finds a boy who's been abandoned by a newborn mother, but later she ends up trying to reconnect with the boy, and you get to see how that happens. Now, this is a remarkably progressive movie, forward-thinking movie in a number of ways, some of which I don't want to spoil, but the spirit of the film, the goodness, the good intentions, the tenderness of the film is great. I was very surprised how a film this old deals with policing, and in fact, I think, well, you'll see. This is one of his funniest, most endearing films, and Jackie Coogan, the young boy here, gives a very strong child actor performance. I'm pretty picky on those because I'm not the biggest little kids guy around, but I really enjoyed him in this. It's an absolute classic, must see. 1921, The Kid with Charlie Chaplin, you gotta see it. My choice for 1922 is also from the Criterion Collection. This is called Nanook of the North. It's a pioneering documentary film about the lives of Indigenous Inuit people of Canada's northern Quebec region. And there are fictional elements in the film, but, it's so believable and fun to watch and rooted in the reality and daily trials of these people. It's not as if anything you're watching is that far from the truth. Now, Roger Ebert really liked this film, and I wanted to read you this quote from him that helps you envision a little bit of what the film's about and what it's like. He said, one of the film's most fascinating scenes, and I agree, shows the construction of an igloo. And people that like to build stuff, you're really going to like this part. Nanook and his friends, they carve big blocks of snow and stack them in a circle, carving new ones from the floor so that it sinks as the walls rise and curve inward to form a dome. Then he finds sheets of ice, cuts holes in the igloo walls, and, get this, he inserts the ice to make windows. And one of my favorite parts of this is that there's another igloo, a smaller one for the dogs, and inside the big igloo, the tiniest igloo of all for puppies, which the dogs would quickly eat. And you'll get a sense of the love that and the respect that these people have for animals. It's just an absolutely fascinating film. In my mind, it's barely aged at all, and I think it's an essential watch for anyone who enjoys documentaries, and it's remained one of my favorite all these years later. 1922, Nanook of the North. My choice for my favorite from 1923 is a film called Safety Last. This is another silent film that's also in the Criterion Collection, if you notice that pattern. A store clerk organizes a contest for this climbing that's going to take place outside of a building, and in the end he ends up having to climb the thing himself. And this is one of those films that is most famous for those shots of Harold Lloyd climbing around that building. It's incredibly awesome to watch in a Buster Keaton-esque way. If you like Buster Keaton, I think you're going to like this. It's anxiety producing if you're afraid of heights too. So, you might want to go hike the Grand Canyon or something and get yourself used to that a little bit first. I have problems with heights, and I still really enjoyed it. There's chasing, running, hiding, dodging the cops. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It is another film that has aged remarkably well, and there's a heart and soul to it that I think you're going to enjoy. I haven't seen it in many years, so those of you that have, you'll have to let me know your favorite part and kind of remind me of what I've been missing and need to rewatch again. So yeah, that's my choice for 1923, Safety Last. The 1920s included a number of sad, somber classics, but perhaps none is quite as miserable and depressing and beautiful as 1924's He Who Gets Slapped, starring Lon Chaney, directed by Victor Sjöström, who is going to be a big player in world cinema. You may recognize him from Wild Strawberries by Ingmar Bergman, but this film is about a very unfortunate scientist. I was surprised how hard he was slapped, both figuratively and literally. He literally gets slapped a bunch. So he has his secrets. His scientific secrets are stolen by a wealthy baron who also steals his wife, and he ends up a clown in a show where he gets slapped a lot. This is one of those original kind of crazy films where the character hits multiple breaking points. And I don't know if I've seen that many films that are as eerie in terms of like this creepy carnival atmosphere. And if you like that sort of thing, I think the age actually works in your favor in this silent film. It makes it feel like something that you've pulled out of the vault that you should have never seen before. It features one of the earliest, if maybe the earliest appearance of the MGM Lion. Someone will have to let me know on that one. I had a little trouble finding that information for sure, but it's definitely a great classic, and gosh, Lon Chaney, you can't go wrong. For my 1925 choice, I've chosen Battleship Potemkin. This film is one of Sergei Eisenstein's greats, a great director himself, and it's a dramatic account, so it can probably exaggerate it a little bit, of this Russian naval mutiny, and this ends up going public a little bit because these sailors are basically given rotten meat. One thing leads to another. Like I said, the public gets involved, the police end up in the middle of it, and there's this horrible massacre at the stairs. In fact, this is a large set of stairs. In fact, of all of the silent scenes in silent movie history, this might be, for me, the most iconic. You could study that scene over and over again and find something new to learn about how to, create suspense, terror, how to, evoke, empathy in your audience. It is a magnificent sequence and a very good film. There are, like many Eisenstein scenes, I think it does have some moments that don't keep the same pace as the others. But Eisenstein was truly a visionary filmmaker who I believe could see the image as well as anyone. And if you have not seen 1925 Battleship Potemkin, you have to see it. It's an essential watch. Faust is my 1926 pick. The same director, Murnau, who he directed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I hope I said any of that right. I'm not as good with those pronunciations, but Faust has long been a great film in terms of the spectacle and the technical aspect of it. The idea is that the devil is making a deal with someone. He wagers on the soul of Faust, and I think that when the film, especially in its beginning elements, is dealing with the supernatural side of the story, it's very, very strong. There's a great shot of the devil overlooking the earth, sort of. It's terrifying. Some of the practical effects that were used around that are interesting. There is a part of the film I don't love, which is this side romance that doesn't add anything to the narrative, but as far as a foundational film with at least individually great moments, I think Faust remains something that everybody needs to see, and certainly silent film fans need to see. A great hit from the 1920s, and if you like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, you should see this too. The late 1920s brought us some of the best silent films, especially silent epics like The King of Kings, which is my choice for my favorite 1927 film. This is also in DVD form in the Criterion Collection. This features a landmark performance in my mind from H.B. Warner, who plays Jesus Christ in his adult life. And he's so tender and he's so pure, yet godlike and strangely stoic at times, particularly warm around children, but always on a mission and always sternly faced somehow, yet being compassionate. I do not think you need to be of any particular faith group to enjoy this film, although I do think you would enjoy it the most if you were a Christian, provided that you like silent films and that you can get through them. Cecil B. DeMille, this was such a project from him. He had high standards for the cast and how they had to behave because of the integrity of the subject matter, and he appreciated that piece of it. And it does begin with the Technicolor scene, and then there's one toward the very end that's appropriately used, beautifully used. And I think this thing is so well shot and acted. The symbolism is great. The crown of thorns scene is as memorable as anything in any movie. And the reveal of Jesus, when you first see him, the way you see him and are introduced to him, is truly one of the great character introductions in movie history, along with characters like Ethan Edwards from The Searchers, and that one character from The Third Man, if you know what I'm talking about. Don't want to give a spoiler there to anyone who hasn't seen that particular classic. But The King of Kings, I think, defines what it means to have a great silent epic on your doorstep. Please watch this film. It's one of the best from the 1920s. My favorite film from 1928 also dealt with religion, a kind of religion that becomes dogmatic, out of control, and evil. This is Carl Theodor Dreyer's classic, The Passion of Joan of Arc. Now, this isn't completely, a one and done from Dreyer. He would go on to direct Day of Wrath, which itself is another great film about the dangers that can come with religion. And this tells the story of a young Joan of Arc who's on trial for her life because she may or may not be unholy, to say the least. And she challenges conventions at every turn. And this features one of the all-time great performances from an actress. Maria Falconetti was great in this. I've often gone back and forth between if I like this or Gina Rowlands in A Woman Under the Influence. I go back and forth on those because this is such a layered performance. It's a performance where you can never tell exactly what she's thinking, and nor can the audience. And the kind of persecution that she's under, this is unpleasant, but it's beautifully shot, and it has a phenomenal, powerful ending. I've only seen this on DVD, so for those of you that have seen it on a higher quality disc, you'll have to let me know if you enjoy it as much as I do. But The Passion of Joan of Arc might be the film that really first got me into silent films. I love it so much. I love the score that's included with it, and I think you definitely should see it. It's one of my favorite films of the 1920s. Perhaps the most innovative, wacky, all over the place, awesome film on this list is 1929's Man with a Movie Camera, a film that surprised me because it was so just not conventional in any way. I mean, sure, I know this was early on in movies when not all conventions were completely set, but this is just a story of a cameraman who wanders around with a camera on his shoulder, and he documents different parts of urban life, and he takes these incredible creative shots with a free-range camera. It's one of those movies that I could sit here and I could go through and tell you scene by scene sort of what it's like, but it truly is something you should experience as blind as possible. Just know, as you watch the film, that you're going to be floating along with it, and your expectations should be to throw the plot out the window and simply enjoy the ride. And I think if you do that, you're going to enjoy this incredible milestone in cinema history from 1929, The Man with a Movie Camera. Before I pick and tell you my favorite of the 1920s of all the films, let me know what films you think I missed out on. Did you have a favorite that I didn't mention or an honorable mention? Did you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments below. All of the films that I've discussed are worth seeing. They're all great in their own right, even if they're uneven in parts. But my actual favorite from the 1920s definitely has to be The Passion of Joan of Arc. Bresson, he had his own version years later that I don't think is quite as good, but, Bresson, I mean, how wrong can you go there? I just think Dreyer's has just such a compassion and spirit and understanding of hatred that few movies do, and it really makes you feel like you're boxed in and closed in and on trial just like she is. It is truly just unmatched in terms of how sad you feel and how compelled you feel to make the world nothing like that. I need to see it again. It's been a number of years, but I've seen it at least 4 or 5 times, and every time I find something new that I really like about it. And like I said, it does feature one of the best performances I've ever seen from anyone in a film. So if you liked our content today, I'm going to keep doing this series. Next up will be the 1930s best films. I'll do 10 from there as well. And if you want to click that like button, it will help grow this channel and grow the content so that other people can be exposed to it. And it'll certainly help me out. Tell me what your favorite films are in the 20s. Those also help, right, with the channels, hearing your comments. And I love reading your comments and responding to them. I get great ideas myself for future movies. Subscribe if you haven't. I cover lots of this kind of stuff, Criterions, classics, Westerns, as you can probably tell. We'll see you on the next episode of this series at Cody in the Cinema.